بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. We continue off with our advanced Nahu studies, and today we look at a new topic. This is Hal. Okay, so we are all familiar with what Hal is, but again, we're just doing revision so that we can cement these concepts. So what does Hal mean? Hal basically means the state or the condition of something. Okay, so what is the definition? Is a state or a condition of someone or something, of a doer, during an action. Okay, so the state of someone or something during an action. And it kind of answers the question, how? So when we were going through the list of maf'uls, we talked about maf'ul fihi, maf'ul lahu, maf'ul bihi, maf'ul hal. So maf'ul hal basically talks about that, answers the question, how? How did something happen? Or how did the action, the verb, come into being, or how did it happen? Okay, and it always comes after a complete sentence. And by a complete sentence, we don't mean that, where the full stop ends. Basically, in Arabic, a complete sentence is فعل فاعل or مبتدا خبر. That's what makes, or مبتدا متعلق بالخبر. That's what we know, what makes a complete sentence. So that's what we mean when we say comes after a complete sentence. For example, in Arabic, ذهب is a complete sentence. So if I just say ذهب, he went, complete sentence, it's done. So I can bring a hal after the word or the verb ذهب. Okay. So if we're to look at what a hal is, there are three parts of a hal, okay, of a hal structure. There's a sahibul hal, the person who's basically doing the action. That's the sahibul hal. Then you have the fi'l, which is now the verb. There has to be a verb or a state in which that person is. I don't know if you guys can hear me. I'm getting a message that my internet is unstable. I hope you can still hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
It was unstable for a little while in the middle.
Okay. Let me see if I can close some windows here. Okay. So there's a sahibul hal, there's a fi'l, and then there's a hal. Okay. Yeah. So basically, we're talking about the three parts of a hal structure. So you have the sahibul hal, you have the verb that is being described, and you have the hal itself, like the state or the condition itself. Okay. Sometimes you don't have a sahibul hal, and we're going to see a case in which something like that has happened, where you don't have a sahibul hal. So sahibul hal is not really a mandatory as such. It depends which kind of a hal structure we're talking about. Right. So how do we translate hal? There are four main ways in which we translate a hal in English. So we can either use the ly of adverbs. So for example, quietly, beautifully, quickly, all these are hals, like we can use the ly, or we can use the word while. So this happened while, for example, here I've given you the example, while driving, something while driving. Or we can use as. Okay, so we can use the word as, something happened as something else. So as it was coming, for example. Or you can use the ing. Now ing, there's so many different ways in which we translate ing in Arabic. So we are seeing mudari' is one of them, hal is another one. We also know that sometimes masdars can be translated with ing. Ism fa'il can also be translated as ing. So that's just something to keep in your mind, that just because I see ing doesn't exactly mean hal. It could be a number of things, just depending on how it is used in the sentence. So we use any one of this in our translation, depending on how we want to translate, or which one has the best meaning. Okay, so let's look at some examples of hal in English before we go into hal in Arabic. So for example, he was eating quietly. Now we said hal comes after a complete sentence. He was eating is a complete sentence. If I just put a full stop there, he was eating, it's a complete sentence. Yeah, it makes sense. But if I add quietly, I'm describing how he, the sahibul hal, was doing the action eating. Okay, and this would be the Haal. So you can see here I've categorized he is a person whose state is being described. So this is the Sahibul Hal. Was eating is our verb, is our action that is being described, and quietly describes how that action took place. Okay, that is one. Then when we look at the second example, he was talking on the phone while driving. Again, he was talking on the phone is a complete sentence. We add while driving, it describes how the action took place. So he was talking on the phone. How was he talking on the phone? While driving. Okay. So again, he is the Sahibul Hal, was talking is the action. And here we added something else. On the phone is a jar majroor. So this is going to be a muta'alliq. And of course, in this case, muta'alliq bil fi'l. Okay. While driving, again, you can see how it comes at the end of a sentence. So while driving is our hal. The car broke down as it was coming. Again, as. That signifies that it's a hal. So the car is a thing whose state is being described. The action is that it broke down. How did it break down? As it was coming, right? She cried sleeping. Again, same concept applies. She cried. How was she crying? While she was sleeping, or as she was sleeping, or sleeping, and all that. So that is basically an introduction to hal. Now, we said it can only come after or can be found after a complete sentence, and it's important to understand what a complete sentence in Arabic is. It might not be the same thing as in English. So that's also important to keep in mind. When we see complete sentence, we mean a sentence that makes sense. Okay, a sentence that is complete in a sense that it makes sense. Now, another important thing to note is that the Sahibul Hal is almost always proper. So the person or the thing being described, the Sahibul Hal, is almost always proper. Like 99.999% is going to be proper. Okay. So basically like, how do I, you understand the Sahibul Hal anyway. So the person whose action is being described, that person or thing is going to be proper, while the Hal itself, okay, the Maf'ul Hal itself, or the compound Hal that we're going to look at, the Hal itself, it's almost always going to be nakira. It's always going to be common. Okay. So that's an important thing to always keep in mind. This is the opposite of sifa. And that is why hal and sifa are very common, because when it comes to compound sifa, the mawsuf is nakira, is common. Yeah. In sifa, we talked about sifa. When we talked about compound sifa, we said that the thing being described in compound sifa is nakira followed by a jumla. Remember that? Nakira ba'daha al-jumla, it has to be common. If it is proper, then you're looking at a hal. So that's kind of like my own way of looking at hal and sifa. So I look at the thing being described. If the thing being described is proper, my mind goes automatically to hal. If the thing being described is common, my mind goes automatically to sifa. So they're kind of close to sifa and hal. They're kind of close like that. And of course, next week when we discuss tamiz, we'll also see a connection between hal and tamiz as well in that sense. So that's just something very important to remember. Now let's look at the three forms of a hal. How does a hal happen? Okay, so when we're talking about compound sifa, we talked about different kinds of compound sifa when it comes with a jumla ismiya, jumla fi'liya, jar majroor, and so on and so forth. So today we're going to look at also hal and the different forms that a hal comes in. So the first one, which is the very common one, just like when we did mawsuf sifa, now we have maf'ul hal. We're familiar with this. It's a nakira, and it's always going to be in nasab status. It's always going to be mansub. So it's always going to have a fatha. So that, and it's going to come at the end of a sentence. Now here we have a very important rule here that is going to even become more clearer next week when we discuss tamyiz, is that a hal is mostly isim fa'il, isim maf'ul. It can be isim sifa, but it is rarely a masdar. Okay, it is rarely a masdar. Now, what they normally call these three words or like they bundle this up, they'll say they're mushtaq or mutasarrif. These are words that can be sarfified. Okay, masdar is considered original. Like most of the root letters are found from the masdar. So masdar is considered original. Like you can't do sarf of a masdar. That's what they consider it. And these other words, you can derive them. Okay, so that's what they normally mean. So you will find that a hal is mostly isim fa'il, isim maf'ul, isim sifa. Rarely a masdar. And when a masdar is used, and we're going to see, it's going to be for extreme cases. Okay. Now it has to match in gender and number with the sahibul hal. Match in gender and number. So let's look at some examples here. So we said there are 4 cases: isim fa'il, isim maf'ul, isim sifa, masdar. Okay. So when this is an isim fa'il, for example, we have جاء الوالد ماشيا. الولد, sorry. جاء الولد ماشيا. The boy came. How did he come? ماشيا, walking. Or you can say while walking, as he was walking. You can't say walkingly because there's nothing like that, but the others, you can see how it applies. So جاء الولد ماشيا, the boy came walking, or he came while walking, or he came as he was walking. Okay. قرأت البنت جالسا. قرأت البنت جالسا. The girl, the girl read while sitting, or while seated. You can also say while seated. So the girl read while sitting, or as she was sat down, which is a very long sentence. You can just say while sitting or while seated. That would be your hal there. And you can see it matches. Oh, it's supposed to match here. Jalisatan. This was a mistake. Let's fix it. Jalisatan. Oops. Yeah. Because this, we're talking about a girl, so and we said it has to match in gender and number. So if there's 2 people, we'll have to match that as well. So for example, قرأت البنتان جالستان. Okay, so you match the gender and the number like that. Or جاء الولدان ماشيان, or جاءوا ماشون. ماشينا, sorry, ماشينا. ماشيين جالستين, because it has to be nasab. So you have to like make sure that you conjugate properly. I'm making mistakes. I didn't nap today, so my brain is not as it should be, but yeah, alhamdulillah. But you get the point. Like you have to conjugate, make sure it's in the nasab status, and you match the number and the gender. Okay, so that's isim fa'il. We know what an isim fa'il is. Fa'ilun, it matches with that. Then you have isim maf'ul. خرج الطلاب من المدرسة مسرورين. مسرورين. So خرج الطلاب, the students came out of the school. How did they come out? مسرورين, happily. They came out happily, or while they were happy, or as they were happy, you know. So, and you can see مسرورين matches الطلاب in gender and number, and it is also mansub. Okay, مسرورين. Not مسرورون, مسرورين. Okay. رجع القائد منصورا. رجع القائد منصورا. And again, you can see that it matches, it's isim maf'ul, so it matches there. So the leader came back victorious. How did he come back? He came back victorious. Okay, منصورا. So those are some examples of isim maf'ul and isim fa'il. Then we go to isim sifa. دخل الأب دخل الأب المنزلة سعيدا. So the father entered the house. How did he enter the house? سعيدا. We know this pattern is fa'il, is the pattern of sifa. So like Kareem, Raqib, Shaheed, Jamil. Yeah, that pattern. So that's the pattern of ism sifa. So سعد يسعد سعيدا is the ism sifa. Of course, it comes at the end of the sentence. يؤدي الإمام الصلاة نشيطا. By the way, when you say it comes at the end of the sentence, doesn't actually mean like it has to come at the end. It just means when the sentence is complete, then you have a hal. That's what it means when I say it comes at the end of the sentence. Yeah. يؤدي الإمام الصلاة نشيطا. The Imam leads the prayer actively. Nasheet means active. I don't know how that prayer will look like, an active prayer, but it's just an example. The Imam leads the prayer actively. So those are the common kinds of hal. Ism maf'ul, ism fa'il, ism sifa. Those are common. And especially ism fa'il, the most common. Then you have masdar. I couldn't find enough examples for this because it rarely happens. Yeah. And when it is used, it is only used to indicate extreme forms, like I said. So atani sa'yan, he came to me jogging, but the way he was jogging was so extreme that I used the masdar form. Atani sa'yan. So sa'a yas'a sa'yan. Yeah. When I use the masdar, basically exaggerates how he was doing it. Okay. Type of manzil, not manzila. Oh. Okay. Thank you about that. دخل الأب المنزلة سعيدا. All right, great. Yeah. So I was explaining the masdar. So atani sa'yan. So sa'yan is a masdar. Okay, so that rarely comes. But if you see, actually, it is used in the Quran. So it comes in the Quran. And hopefully, I don't know if I put examples of that, but we'll see. All right. So that's when it comes as an ism mufrad. Okay, as a maf'ul hal, as a single ism. Single ism. Okay, that's scenario number one. Hal as a single ism, which can also have a hal as an entire sentence. It can either be a jumla fi'liya or it can be a jumla ismiya. So let's look at a jumla fi'liya, number one. When you have a jumla fi'liya as a hal, the mudari' form, you will see two verbs back to back. Okay, unless it's from af'al al-shuru', which we'll discuss later. But most of the time, you'd actually see two fi'ls back to back. Sometimes it doesn't have to be like exactly back to back, like with no separation. Sometimes the fi'l can come at the end. Like what it means is that I want you to imagine where the sentence ends, and then immediately after that sentence ends, you have another fi'l beginning. So it's like two fi'ls back to back, mudari'. So for example, جاءني يبكي. Okay, so يبكي. He came to me. How did he come to me? Crying, or while he was crying. جاءني يبكي. And then the second example, you have ذهبت أحلام. If I just said ذهبت أحلام, أحلام went. Yeah, أحلام is a feminine name, so ذهبت. ذهبت أحلام, أحلام went. But if I say ذهبت أحلام تضحك, تضحك, أحلام went while laughing or as she was laughing. Okay, so you can see ذهبت, there's a فعل, and then you have a مضارع, تضحك. So the مضارع just comes in. There's one sentence ends, and then the مضارع begins. One sentence ends, and the مضارع begins. Okay. So that's basically that. And of course, the sahibul hal, you can find the sahibul hal, ahlam, because it matches with in gender and number with the hal. Okay. Now that is in mudari'. In madi, it will only come with waqad. Something, waqad. And in this case, you don't have a sahibul hal. When you have waqad, you don't have a sahibul hal because it's just being general. Okay. And it mostly has the meaning of when. You can also say while, you can use while, and it also has the meaning of when. So let's look at some examples. أتكذب علي وقد جاءني الحقيقة. Are you lying to me when the truth has come to me? Yeah, so وقد. You see this with the ماضي. So وقد جاء. You see, it's not وقد يجيء. It's وقد جاءني. It's ماضي. Or the second example, يريدون أن يأكلوا وقد انتهى الطعام. They want to eat when the food is over, or while the food is over. You can also use while in translating this part. So you see, وقد انتهى الطعام. انتهى. We don't say ينتهي. وقد ينتهي. No, وقد انتهى الطعام. So here it comes with the ماضي. Actually, grammarians would consider this واو حالية, and therefore they'll just say that this is a jumla ismiya. Basically, like not jumla ismiya, but they will just consider this waw haliya, even if it comes with فعل ماضي. They'll just say this is waw haliya. Yeah. So that's basically ماضي مضارع. I don't know if there are any questions. Then we come to the second kind of jumla, which is a jumla ismiya. You're familiar with that. And with this part, you have to have a waw haliya. It has to come. Okay. Whatever happens, it has to come. You have to have a waw haliya. So for example, سافر أبي والشمس تغرب. My dad traveled while the sun was setting. My dad traveled while the sun was setting. Okay. Or ذهبت إلى العمل. I went to work وأنا متعبة while I am tired. I went to work while I am tired. And I know we are mostly familiar with the pronoun. When we see wa and a pronoun, that's a guarantee that this is hal, but it doesn't necessarily mean that all jumla haliyas, all jumla ismiyas, they're going to have a pronoun. Like we've seen in this example above here, وَالشَّمْسُ تَغْرُبُ. It's not a pronoun. And the sun, while the sun was setting. Okay. So that's basically what this is parts we are familiar with. Now I'm going to introduce something maybe new. Some of you maybe not so new, I don't know. But just like we did sifa and we talked about different kinds of compound sifa. We did ism mufrad. We did alladhi, ism mawsul. We did jumla ismiya, jumla fi'aliya. We also did jar majroor. Okay. Now here also, and we said jar majroor, for it to be a sifa, it has to have a common mawsuf. Here is the opposite. Like we said, with sifa it's opposite. So here we have a proper sahibul hal. And then of course you have your jar majroor. Now there are two cases. When we say muta'alliq be something, we normally talk about two kinds of muta'alliqs. Either it's jar majroor or it's a dharf. Yeah, we remember that from when we're doing basic nahu. We said muta'alliq is made up of two parts. You have a jar majroor, that is a common one. That's the one we know most of the time. But also special mudafs. And special mudafs are what? Special mudafs are dharfs. Yeah, special mudafs are dharfs. Like when I say tahta, under, fawqa, on top of, wara'a, behind, khalfa is also behind, whatever. All these dharfs, special mudafs of places, or of places and time, these are called dharfs. Now together, a jar majroor and a dharf, these two things together, they're called shibhul jumla. You will come across this thing, shibhul jumla. At first, I didn't know what this thing was, but then I decided I want to understand what it is. It basically means either jar majroor or dharf. That's what it means. Like that's what they would call shibhul jumla. Like it's pretending to be a sentence, but it's not really a sentence. So it's kind of like shib means like similar. So it's similar to a sentence, but it's not really a sentence. It's pretending to be a sentence. And that's, we normally, when we're doing i'rab, we normally say these things to be muta'alliq. Muta'alliq bil khabar or muta'alliq bil fi'l. That's what we normally say. Now, here, the grammarians differed a bit. Some grammarians said, you know what, the way we will look at jar majroor and dharf is that we will say it's muta'alliq بمحذوف حال, to a hal that is hidden. And some just said it's a hal. So you have actually people that say, some grammarians that call this a hal, automatic hal. And some said, oh, it's not really a hal. There's a hal that was omitted, that has not been mentioned. And this thing, jar majroor, is actually muta'alliq to that hal. So a lot of gymnastics. I have a theory about that. Maybe I'll share it with you after we go through these examples. So that's just an introduction to shibhul jumla. Now, how does a jar majroor become a hal? Okay, so we said, when you have a proper followed by a jar majroor, which is kind of like the opposite of sifa. Now, if it ain't a sifa, most likely it's a hal. So that's kind of like my trick that I use. If it looks like a sifa, then I look at the mawsuf. Is it proper or common? And I'm like, proper, that's a hal. Common, that's a sifa. And I'm basically done with that. Okay, now let's look at some examples here. For example, if I said نظرت إلى الأسد في القفص. نظرت إلى الأسد في القفص. I looked or I saw a lion in a cage. So you can actually, when you just hear the translation, you can automatically hear that I saw this lion while it was in a cage. Yeah, like that's how you would translate this. Or I saw this lion as it was in a cage. Or I saw this lion existing in a cage, or like caged in a cage, or something. Like there's something, like you can feel like either there's something missing, like how it was in a cage, or you can translate it as while it was in a cage. Yeah. وهو في القفص, if you can, like that's kind of like what is understood in the minds of grammarians. Yeah. So they'll say this part في القفص is actually متعلق بمحذوف حال. So there's a hal that is missing here, which is like caged or existing or put in a cage or something. So that would be the hal. نظرت إلى الأسد كائنا, from كان يكون كونا. So كائنا, existing, or that is there in a cage. So that's what they would imagine. Like this, there's a hal that is missing, and this في القفص is متعلق to that hal. Okay. Let me clean this up a bit. Okay. And then you have, for example, the second example. رأيت السمكة في الماء. I saw the fish in water. How did I see the fish? Swimming inside the water. So it's assumed like swimming. There's a hal that is missing there. And of course, now this في الماء is kind of متعلق to that محذوف. So I saw the fish like swimming in the water. So that's something is missing. So رأيت السمكة في الماء. Or تركت عائلتي في أمان. تركت عائلتي, I left my family في أمان, in safety. How did I leave them? Again, this is kind of like more automatic. How did I leave them? I left them in safety or in أمان. Okay. So that kind of, you just have to ask yourself, what kind of question is it answering? Right? Then when we look at ظرف, it's kind of like the same basically principle, but here we have special مضاف. Instead of a jar majroor, we have a special mudaf, and special mudaf of time. Special mudaf of time and place. That's what darf is. Not just all the other special mudafs, because there are other special mudafs that are not of time and place. Yes, Saima. Any questions?
So how will differentiate it from متعلق بالفعل?
Yes, that's a good question. How are you going to differentiate it from متعلق بالفعل? You just have to basically understand what is being conveyed, what is being said. And so I'll give you, I was going to explain that later, but so remember when we talked about there are certain أفعال that are, what are they called? متعدد
Married?
مفعولين. Yeah, they take up 2 or 3 مفاعيل. Like they will have a مفعول به أول and مفعول به ثاني. So there are certain فعل that do that. Okay. So when you have, this is my theory, by the way, I could be wrong, but I've seen this a lot. So when you have a فعل that takes that, okay, so there are those fi'als, and then there are those fi'als from that big family that are called أفعال القلب. Okay. Now أفعال القلب, these are fi'als that basically when I say I saw you to be a good man, if I said I saw you, or I thought you to be a good man. Yeah, if I said that, let me type it up, I think, because I'm introducing something maybe that might be new here. So let's go break it down. I thought you to be a good man, or I thought you a good man. Let's just make it easier. I thought you a good man. So you can see that in this sentence, you is the first maf'ul bihi. Who did I think? You. It answers the question who. And what did I think of you? I thought you are a good man. So a good man would be maf'ul bihi thani, because it answers the question what. So we have a who and a what. Maf'ul bihi al-awwal. Let's scroll up a bit. So this is number 1, maf'ul bihi al-awwal, and this is maf'ul bihi al-thani. Now, this thinking, it's not like thinking, it's not thinking. It's not literal, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. It's more of a qalbi thing. It's internal. I don't know how do I explain this? Let's take a more literal like a af'al that has two maf'uls. Yes, there are af'al that have two maf'uls, but specifically there's certain af'als. Let's take I saw. I saw.
Like feelings with feelings.
Yes, it's
I
called feeling.
considered it to be, this is like like how you felt.
Yeah. It's difficult to explain. Let me try and use seeing, because seeing is, I think, clearer. I saw you a good man. When I say I saw you a good man, or I saw you to be a good man, I'm not actually saying that I literally, physically, with my eyes, saw you as a good man. That's not what I'm saying, yeah? So I saw you as a good man basically doesn't mean that. It means in my mind, I imagined you to be a good man, or I found you to be a good man. You can make the differentiation, right?
Yeah. Perceived you.
Yeah, so there's the seeing of the eyes and there's the seeing of the heart. This is
Yeah.
what they're called af'alul qalb, because it's the action of the heart and not the action of the eyes itself. Even when we were doing, I think we were doing ta'birul Qur'ani, Fadil al-Samirai, I think he brought this up and he was talking about the seeing of the limb, the physical action of the limbs versus the action of the heart, something like that. I don't remember exactly, but yes, I recognized you to be a good man. That's exactly what it means. Even though I'm saying I saw you as a good man, what it actually means is I recognized you. That's what I'm saying. So it's more of a qalbi thing. It's more of a feeling thing, not a physical thing. It's not a literal thing. It's metaphorical. Yeah, that's the word that they use. So there's majazi, metaphorical, and then there's literal. Okay, so this one is not literal. It's not like I literally saw you. But if I say I saw a bird on a tree, if we're to compare that with I saw a bird on a tree, this is physical. I actually, with my two eyes, saw a bird sitting on a tree. So you can see that's physical, seeing. It's the same verb. It takes both these verbs, they take two maf'uls, but one, or maybe not on a tree, but I saw a bird sitting. Yeah. So let's give it two maf'uls. I saw a bird sitting. Yeah. So you can see that they both take two maf'uls, but however, now when it is af'alul qalb, then it has to take two maf'uls. So in this case, it will be two maf'uls. Whereas in this case, where it's actually literal seeing, then it's going to be one maf'ul and a hal. So you can actually see how I translated here. Sitting. Let's remove as here so that it doesn't confuse you. I saw you a good man. I imagined you a good man. So you can see maf'ul bihi number one, you, a good man, maf'ul bihi number two. But when it's literal seeing, I saw with my own two eyes, then what did I see? A bird. How did I see that bird? So it answers the question how. I saw the bird sitting. So you see, when it is physical sight of the eyes, then the second maf'ul is not maf'ul bihi, it's maf'ul hal. Okay? I know this is going to be a lot. Like afida, yes. Yeah, like a heart, like you're seeing it in your chest, in your mind, in your heart and mind. Yeah. So that's basically the difference. Now here's my theory, my crazy theory. I could be right, I could be wrong, I don't know. When you have these kinds of fi'ls that can either be in your mind or it can be physical, can either be metaphorical or it can be literal. When you have it as literal, then whatever comes after it is going to be a hal, because we expect it to have a hal, right? We expect it to have maf'ul bihi, maf'ul number one, and a hal. But if it is not like one of these fi'ls, then we can say muta'alliq to mahdhuf hal, this part. متعلق to محذوف حال. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I know it's a lot. It's a bit crazy, but that's kind of like my differentiation. So I use that trick to differentiate between, is it a مفعول حال or is it a متعلق بالخبر. And also the meaning will just tell a متعلق بالفعل, and the meaning will just tell you. For example, رأيت السمكة, I saw a fish. Okay, في الماء, you can say this في الماء is متعلق. It is still a متعلق, whether you say it's متعلق to a محذوف حال, or you can actually say that this في الماء, because this verb رأيت is actually a physical seeing. I actually saw the fish. It's not like I imagined or I recognized the fish. No, I actually physically saw the fish inside the water. Then I saw the fish. How did I see the fish? Inside the water. So it answers the question, how? Because it's physical seeing. So that's kind of how, like, I would just differentiate between that. It doesn't happen. This kind of doesn't happen a lot in the Quran. So the few instances that it happens, you'd actually think about it and you would be able to understand that it could be a hal. I don't know if I answered the question or I just confused you more, but these are concepts that if you come across them often, it will become clearer and clearer. Even for me myself, it's not so clear right now, but at least I'm somewhere, like I can be able to distinguish between that. So that's my theory, you know, especially when it comes to these fi'ils that take up two maf'uls and those that are not of the heart. Like, it's physical, it's literal. Same thing you would find with dharf. Like, if I say رأيت العصفور تحت الشجرة, I physically saw with my own two eyes a bird under a tree. How did I see the bird? Sitting, or it's assumed, like, you know, there's something here missing, like sitting, perched, you know, feeding, walking, whatever. Like, I saw the bird existing under a tree. Yeah. So it kind of answers the question, how did I see the bird? Yeah. Or وجدت الإمام وجدت الإمام فوق المنبر. I found, again, وجد is one of those fi'ils that take up two maf'uls. Yeah. So وجدت الإمام, I found the Imam فوق المنبر, above or on the minbar, like above the minbar. How did I find the Imam? I found him above the minbar. سمعت أصواتا خلف المنزل. I had noises or voices behind the house. How did I hear? I had them existing behind the house. Like, there were some noises behind the house. So that's just kind of like how a brief summary of متعلق to محذوف حال, or just a حال. Because some grammarians will consider this direct حال. Some will just say, no, it's محذوف to a it's متعلق to a محذوف حال. You would see that. So I'm only mentioning this because you will open a tafsir book and you would actually see متعلق to محذوف حال. So that's why I'm telling you all this stuff. This stuff about al-af'al al-qalb, maybe one day we'll get there, inshallah, who knows. But yeah, that was just to give you an idea of what it is. Any questions? I know at the end there, I might have introduced a lot. But let's see what we can be able to do in the exercise, and hopefully if questions come, we'll tackle them as they go. Because normally the questions come in the Quran, not outside the Quran. So let's see. Okay, so you know the drill. If you want to participate, you can raise your hand. Let's see how much you can be able to accomplish today. Okay, Sema, we'll start with you, of course. If anybody else wants to participate, you can raise your hand. So the exercise is pretty simple. You look at the ayah that is given. You identify what the hal is in the sentence, and we identify what kind of a hal is it. Is it ism mufrad, a single like ism, or is it jumla fi'liya? Is it jumla ismiya? Is it jar majroor? Is it a darf? And is there a sahibul hal? If there's a sahibul hal, who is the sahibul hal? Okay, so we have Saima, Saba, and Fawzia. So we'll go in that order. Yalla, bismillah, Saima.
Okay, bismillah. وترى المجرمين يومئذ مقرنين في الأصفاد. So al-mujrimina is the Sahibul Hal.
Mhm.
First I have to tell the Hal. So it is, I think, Mukrinina, fil
مقرنين.
asfali,
Yes.
Mukarranina.
Yep. So I'll be a حال مقرنين. Didn't copy correctly. And مقرنين here, of course, it's coming as what?
Mufrad, it is maful.
Yes. اسم
Yeah.
مفعول and it's an اسم مفرد. Yeah. So like مقرنين is اسم مفعول. Okay, I hope that's clear for everybody. Right. Saba, you can do the next.
Before we go on, can I ask if we can identify whether it was a
Yes.
jumla fi'liya or a ism? We did that.
Yeah,
I'm
we
sorry.
did.
You did
Yeah,
that.
اسم مفرد.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. No problem. Yeah. So yeah, so this is a single ism. So it's اسم مفعول. Okay. Saba?
Yes, so ومن يقتل, so whoever he kills. Hal is it جملة
This is what we
فعلية?
covered yesterday. من شرطية.
Yes, من شرطية.
Mm.
يقتل.
يقتل now because it's من شرطية. Oops.
يقتل, right. من يقتل. I don't know, I am becoming blank.
Okay, let's go step by step. I know I'm also like it's today I didn't have a nap, so my brain is a little bit slow. But let's do it together. So ومن يقتل. So that is من شرطية. يقتل is جملة شرطية. It's the فعل شرط. مؤمنا would be the مفعول of يقتل. So whoever
Yes.
kills a believer, مؤمنا متعمدا. You can see that مؤمنا and متعمدا, they match in all four properties. There's no al, they're both mansub, you know. So this is موصوف صفة. So whoever kills, oh wait, I'm confused. No, of course not. This is where it gets complicated. So متعمدا, this is اسم فاعل, and
Yes.
it's the حال. How does he kill? متعمدا, like not accidental. What is the opposite of not accidental? Kind of drawing a
Intentional.
blank here. Intentional, yes. Intentionally. So whoever kills a believer, how? Intentionally. So remember we said you can add ly in a حال. So this is kind of like what happened there. Yeah.
مؤمنا is صاحب الحال.
Yes.
متعمدا is حال.
Yes. So متعمدا would be our حال here. Because it answers
And
the
it
question
is,
how.
it is simple ism.
Yes.
Ism مفضل.
It's a mufrad.
Simple.
Yeah, so you can see how it's easy to actually confuse hal and sifa. Like they're very close. Oh, I almost did that. I was like, well, so sifa. Then I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. A believer, an intentional believer? No. No, whoever kills a believer, how intentionally? Yeah. So again, common sense would also help you in determining, is it a hal, is it a sifa, what's going on? Is it a tamiz? Yeah, because all those are nasab, singular, and common. So it can be confusing a little bit. Fauzia?
Yes. In the previous one,
Uh-huh.
فَجَزَاءَهُ جَهَنَّمُ خَالِدًا. Khalidan would be the hal again.
Oh yes. Actually, yeah, this is the one I was looking for. This is the one I picked this ayah for. Yeah. I think this is a sifa. Okay, this part is confusing me. I am a bit blank also here, but I remember like this is why I picked that. Khalidan was the part that I actually intended for this exercise. I will confirm, or if somebody can actually just confirm what متعمدا is here. Because another, oh, yeah, what did I do? فجزاؤهم. So the صاحب الحال. So if we're to look at خالدا, Okay, if you to say that the hal is khalidan, what would be the sahibul hal? What do you guys think?
The who?
Yeah, so it goes back to the who, the pronoun jaza'uhu, his compensation or his compensation, and this who goes back to, again, because you can see this is the jawabu shart, so it goes back to the shart, whoever kills, so it goes back to this person who kills a believer. Yeah, so that would be the sahibul hal. Type it out. So this is the who, the attached pronoun who. Okay. If somebody manages to check that out, you can let me know this ayah متعمدا, or I can quickly check that out while Fawzia is doing وهذا صراط ربك مستقيما.
وهذا صراط
In
ربك
Iraq al-Muyassar, it shows it's Hal.
It's hal. Okay. Yeah, so we have two hals there. Yeah. Because I was like, yeah, it can't be sifa because it explains how. So we have this one. I did this notes a while back, so my mind is not really that fresh. Okay, so we have those two.
What does
Great.
متعمدا mean? Sorry, I forgot.
Intentionally.
Intentional.
Mm. Okay.
In Wahaza Siratu Rabbika Mustaqiman is the hal because
Mhm.
it's mansub and nakira.
Mhm.
And it's an ism.
Mhm.
Sorry, ism mustaqiman mafud. No,
Yes.
fa'il.
فاعل, yes. مستقيما. So استغفر يستغفر استغفارا فهو مستغفر. مستقيم. It's استقامة يستقيم. It's أجوف. It has irregularity in the middle. So
Okay.
that's why
So
this,
it's an ism fa'il.
yes, it's an ism fa'il. And what would be the
And
sahib al-hal, do you think? What is
the
mustaqim describing, or who is mustaqim describing?
sirat.
Yes. So this is our sahib al-hal, siratu
Yeah,
rabbika.
siratu
And of
rabbika.
course, they'll say like it's not the whole thing. Some will just say that it's describing the mudaf and not the mudaf ilayh. Those are technical that we're not gonna get into right now. So we'll just put the idafa together and say mustaqima is describing the idafa, because we know like that's how it comes. Okay. So no problem, Saima, if you have to leave. We'll just continue with Fauzia and Saba. However much we can, because it's almost time. But let's see how many exercises we can be able to do. Okay. Saba, I don't know, Saima, if you're leaving right now. Okay. So Saba, you can do the next one.
وأنذرهم يوم الحسرة. هم looks like صاحب الحال. And is قضي الأمر is the Hal.
Sorry, what?
أنذرهم and warn them. يوم الحسرة.
Mm-hmm.
يوم الحسرة is the day of regret.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
is قضي الأمر when قضي is something decided.
Decided. Yeah, when the matter is decided.
So when the matter is decided. And so is قضي الأمر is it a hal of they, because when they were in regret?
Okay, so we have to ask ourselves, we look at the entire sentence and see where does the sentence end. So let's go step by step. وأنذرهم, and warn them. Warn them of what? يوم الحسرة, of a day. Warn them of a day of loss, or yeah, you can go with loss. إذ قضي الأمر, when the matter is decided. Okay. Hal, I don't think it comes with if. So this would be like something else. So it doesn't come with it.
So
But we
وهم
know
في
Hal.
غفلة is
Yes.
and why is واو حالية. This is جملة
Exactly.
اسمية.
Yes,
Okay.
beautiful. Now you're getting it. So this is جملة
Mhm.
اسمية. And course this our حال is وهم في غفلة وهم لا يؤمنون could also be another حال. So you have two
Yes.
حالs here back to back and they're both جملة اسمية. And the صاحب الحال would be
Mhm.
هم.
أنذرهم.
Yes, the whom in أنذرهم. So them, warn them while they are. Okay, so that's what would happen there. All right, Fawzia?
While reading this, وألقي, oh, we're here? No, وألقي عصاك فلما رآها تهتز كأنها جان ولا مدبرا stands out as منسوب ولم يؤقب.
Okay.
So كأنها جان is جملة اسمية. Oh, I'm going ألقى وألقي عصاك فلما رآها.
Yeah, so let's go step by step again.
Yeah.
So ألقي is أمر, it's command.
Yes.
ألقي ماذا? Throw what? عصاك. So this is
عصا.
مفعول به. Throw yourself. So because this is أمر, and yesterday we talked about أمر and جواب الأمر. So you can see ألقي عصاك فلما رآها. So when he saw it, فلما رآها, so رأى is فعل ماضي. This is part of the جواب now. This is فعل ماضي. فلما رآها, when he saw it, تهتز, another فعل. What
So
did we
two
say?
fails back to back.
See? Now that kind of throws you off. You're like, okay, I just finished a فعل and then I'm going into another فعل. What's happening here? So this, how did he see it? Shaking, تهتز. Yeah? So now that becomes our حال. And of course,
But I have a question here.
Sure.
Then when we read about the two fails, that was in the Mudare section.
Mm-hmm.
Ra'aha is a Madi followed by Mudare.
The حال is مضارع.
The Hal is Mudare.
The فعل before it can be ماضي, no problem. But the فعل that we are talking about, the حال itself, has to be مضارع.
Has to be Mudare. All right, that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
so then that is the Hal.
Like if you look at the examples I gave you, so جاءني يبكي. جاء is فعل ماضي. But يبكي is مضارع.
Mudare. Okay, got it. I was confused there for a minute.
No problem. I know it's a lot. I've given you a lot today, and it's evening, so the brains are a little slow. Fine.
And so this is Madi followed by Mudare. I don't know what to say. Is it
So we'll
Jumla?
call it جملة فعلية.
Failure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they, how did they run? How did they?
What is تهتز describing? What is shaking? That's the question you need to ask yourself. This is the حال. I've identified my حال. It's a حال of what? It's a state of what in the sentence? So that's what you need to ask yourself.
Well,
so
if I
تهتز
deduce,
is feminine because here تهتز. So I need to ask myself, what is feminine in this ayah that تهتز is describing? رآها. And what is her going back to? This is why you have to pull out. Yes, beautiful, because the Arab said so. Asa is feminine because the Arab said so. Remember that? Yeah.
Yes.
So ha goes back to that, and tahtazu goes back to her. So that's kind of. You had another question, I think, here. I don't know.
Yeah, when I read further on, كأنها hajanun, that was jumla ismiya, walla mudbiran. Now here I see a mansoob, and I'm wondering if I don't have any vocabulary, what this would be. It doesn't look like a mawsoof sifa.
So remember, before you look for Hal, you look for a complete
For
sentence.
completeness,
For
yeah.
completeness.
And Walla, I don't know if it's complete or not. Is it
So-
like Zahaba or I don't know.
So
Is it
walla is actually a
verb?
verb. It's a verb ناقص. So walla,
Walla.
and it's متعدي,
So then,
which
yeah.
means it has to have a مفعول به. Or not necessarily it has to
Oh.
have, but it can take a مفعول به. So if
Then
it
that
can take a
would be-
مفعول به, then we say this
that
is a
would be
مفعول
it.
به before we go to حال.
Okay.
Right?
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
حال you think of at the last minute, like let me cross my T's and my whatever they're called. So you check your فعل, your فاعل, your مفعول به, and then now I can start thinking about حال or تمييز or these other things. Yeah. Okay, great. Saba?
بل هم في شك يلعبون.
Mhm.
So instead, so هم في شك, هم is مفرد صاحب الحال and followed by jar مجرور. So في شك is the حال of the.
So this is gonna be okay. Whom would be what in this sentence? It's a جملة اسمية, so what is whom?
مبتدأ.
Okay, and a مبتدأ needs either a what or a what?
مبتدأ followed by خبر or متعلق بالخبر.
Exactly. So for a جملة اسمية to be complete, you either need a مبتدأ and a خبر or a مبتدأ and a متعلق
Yes.
بالخبر. You can't just have a
Yes.
مبتدأ alone, unless it's
Right.
محذوف, which is different discussions. So
هم
when you
في
see
شك
that,
is whole sentence and يلعبون is the حال of them.
yes, there you go. So this is your complete sentence, and then you have a فعل, a جملة فعلية after that. So that becomes your حال. Okay. So this is our جملة فعلية.
I directly go to the sifa versus the حال.
Yeah.
Proper followed by jar majroor.
Yeah. We'll see a case in which a jar majroor is actually a hal. Hopefully we get to it soon. Maybe we can take like maybe another 5 minutes and just see how much we can be able to do. Let me try and
Can we continue this next one? I think there quite a lot.
yeah. However you guys want us to do it.
Already 7:33 on
Yeah.
our side.
Yeah, it's a bit late. So what we can do is we can maybe stop here, no problem, and then you guys can just go through this stuff. And if you have any questions, maybe we can take them next week if you're able to identify what the hal is and all that. Maybe I just want to do one jar majroor just to get that out of the way, and then the rest. Let's see. Let's see if I can be able to find one.
This one, the فلما أنجاهم إذا هم يبغون في الأرض.
فلما أنجاهم وهم يبغون في الأرض بغير الحق. Okay, so I think the حال is بغير الحق here. What is the حق? So this is the شرطية إذن يبغون. Yeah, I think here بغير الحق is the حال. So you can see غير الحق is actually a special مضاف. And is obviously a jar majroor. So that would be our حال in this case. It's not so clear. So these are the tricky ones. Yeah. So you probably ask, okay, so it's a jar majroor. How do I know that it's a hal? And what would be the sahibul hal? So the sahibul hal. What is this? Why am I confused?
Is
Okay, no
صاحب
problem,
الحال?
Zara. This one I need to confirm further. I'm drawing a blank here. My mind is really blank. Oh, so this is the one I was actually looking for.
فخرج.
Yeah. So فخرج على قومه في زينته. He left. So خرج is a فعل. Our فاعل is هو the inside pronoun. على قومه is the متعلق بالفعل to this one. So you kind of have like it's already complete there. And then you have في زينته. And if you just think about it, like he came out to his people all dressed up, like nicely dressed up in all his embellishments and whatnot, all his beauty, basically. So all his beauty, في زينته, kind of explains how he came out. He came out in all his beauty, right? So you can see that this actually answers the question how. And in that case, then في زينته becomes our حال of the صاحب الحال, the هو inside خرج. So that's kind of how like a jar majroor can be حال in the Quran. But most of the time you will find either اسم فاعل, اسم مفعول. Rarely it's going to be a masdar. A few of them you can find a masdar. Don't know if I've put in a masdar here. Yeah. Anyway, so I think we can stop there for today. Just go absorb this information, which is a lot. I can post these notes. You can read them and go through them and try and look at these examples. And if we have any questions, maybe next week we can look at that before we go into Tamiz. I don't think Tamiz is a lot. It's quite a bit. Okay. Quite a bit. Yeah, I will try and share all my notes. Inshallah, I'll post it in the group, the whole book. However, I must make a disclaimer, like there are a few topics that I haven't done. I am not going to do numbers. I don't think I will do numbers. I haven't prepared notes for numbers because numbers, I'm allergic to numbers. However, if I ever decide to do them, I will let you know and then we can have the class. But for now, I don't think I will do numbers. There's a sister called Sister Nida. She did an amazing, wonderful job of numbers. She loves numbers and she did an amazing. I will share the link for her video and her resources. You can watch that. Yeah, so I'll share my notes, but numbers, it's going to be blank because I haven't done anything. Atuf, I wanted to do Atuf. I'm not so sure if I want to do it still. And also Tawkid. So these two are blank. You'll find those two blank in my notes. I'm still debating whether I want to do them or not. So we'll see, inshallah. Okay. وإياكم جزاكم الله خيرا. I don't know if there's any other question or comment. I think we can end there. So سبحانك اللهم
جزاك الله
وبحمدك.
خيرا.
وإياكم جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم.